Thanks so much for joining us this afternoon for the Future of Formulation session, which I'm personally excited about, that we get to really kind of dive into the science, into what is actually in all of these beautiful bottles that we're seeing in our Luxury Meets Cannabis boxes today. Joining us, we have Oren Ezra, who is CEO of Formology Labs in Santa Monica, California. Fabian MacLaren, who is also with Formology as product development. Stephanie Pascarella with Wash with Water in Charleston, South Carolina. And Melissa Jochim in Northern California with High Beauty. I will go ahead and just let you each go around the virtual room we're all sitting in together today and just tell us a little bit about each of your backgrounds, and of course your innovation and leadership in the space, which is why you are all here today. Oren, if you want to start us off.
Sure. Hi everyone. I'm very excited to be on this event. First time doing this sort of event. So I'm the founder of Formology Lab. I started Formology Lab in 2017. Before that, I had my own brand that I ran from 2004 until 2017, and then came 2017, and I said, okay, where is the white space in the market? There is like tons of brands. There is so many like labs. What can I be? Where can we be different? And I think I took my passion and the one white spot that we found, which to have like a lab that customer service is the most important thing. We look at all our customers as our partners mainly. We do a lot of clean beauty. We work a lot with CBD, and I think that this is exactly the spot where the passion and the abilities are combining.
Excellent. And Fabian, I know you recently joined the team at Formology Lab in the past year and a half. So tell us a little bit about before your time at Formology and what brought you together with Oren.
Sure. Hi, everyone. Prior to working with Oren at Formology, I was the co-founder, president of a brand called Sunday Riley Modern Skincare, which you've seen at Sephora and some other places. And we launched that during the Great Recession and somehow managed to stay alive, so to speak. After Sunday Riley, I kind of worked in the industry a little bit as a consultant. I worked a lot in the sun care industry, developed a couple of patents for sun care, consulted with some of the major sun care people, and then kind of got burnt out on the whole corporate side of things. And the next thing to do, someone said, you really got to talk to Oren Ezra. He's doing some great stuff out in LA with Formology. And we got to talking, and I thought, man, that's really what I want to do. You know, the clean, natural CBD side of things was just so exciting to me. And I thought, wow, that's really what I would love to be doing. And so Oren and I have been we hit the ground running not long after we met, and we've been having a great time ever since.
Excellent. And Stephanie?
Hi, everyone. I'm so happy to be with you all today. I'm the mom and founder of Wash with Water. We're a botanical-rich wellness line for the entire family. We craft our products truly so that you can buy less but buy better. All the products are crafted with the highest quality ingredients. They're truly functional, but most importantly, affordable. I'm a really big believer growing up in Vermont as a child with two hippie parents that everyone should have access. That's really our mission here at Wash with Water.
Thank you. And Melissa?
Hi, thank you, Katie. I'm so excited to be here. I love talking about formulas. I think you know that.
Yes.
I've been in the beauty industry for 32 years. I studied chemistry, and I'm unique in this world because everything that goes in our bottles, I actually decide what that is. And my passion's always been with organic. And natural. I've been with brands that are pretty unique, from beauty without cruelty to natural and clean early on in the 90s, and then moved into juice-based formulas with Juice Beauty. And high beauty is really my new baby, and I feel like it's the highest realization of everything I've been doing through the course of the last 3 decades. So very excited.
Great. And I think, it's such an interesting time to have this conversation, especially with you, Oren and Fabian. Formology is known as working, in your short time of forming the company, you're, so well known in terms of working with some of the best and biggest beauty brands in CBD and in the space overall. But what's so interesting to me is that you're very discreet and not many people know who you actually work with, which I think is an interesting juxtaposition, especially now that we're seeing so many consumers really seeking out that information of where things are formulated, who is actually making their products, who is, beyond just the face of these brands, like Stephanie or Melissa, who are actually so hands-on in formulating their product lines. But tell me a little bit about your perspective, Oren, in kind of, what that means to you as a company, and especially as it relates to consumers seeking out this often proprietary information.
So I think that one of the very important things for brand owners is their formulation. And one of the reasons that we decided to go, usually you go into a lab, you see like all the brands that they're doing on a big wall. One of the reasons I decided not to do it, because I got burned from like other labs when I had my own brand. I came up with a product that was unbelievable back in 2006. We're selling hundreds of thousands of units, and then 2007 sales dropped. And one day I just stopped by coincidence in the lab where I work with, and I see that my competitor is loading a truckload of the same formula as I developed. So again, one of the things I decided to do is really keep the integrity. People are working so hard on their formulations. I can tell you that our clients, we have so many revisions. We can do 20, 30, 40, 50 revisions per formula until they get to exactly what they want, the feel, the texture, the ingredient list, everything. And I think that it's more important the fact of and this is something that I'm probably going to repeat a lot, the farm to jar. I think that it's really important from where you're sourcing your ingredients. I think it's very important, until a few years ago, nobody knew about extraction. And even if you get shea butter, olive oil, whatever it is, right? Nobody were talking about extraction. Nowadays, people are talking about extraction. People are talking about farm to jar. They want to see where is the source of the ingredients. And I think that this is a little bit more important. Again, we see ourselves as maybe we're the cook. But the person that come up with the recipe is the person with the passion. The people like Stephanie, like Melissa, they're the one that doing the research. We're doing some research as well, but they're the one that will drive us and push us to get to a better product.
Right. And Fabian, in terms of, Formology's kind of niche within the clean and natural and now CBD space, what is your approach to clean and natural, and how do you see it as this global movement, and where CBD and, in Melissa's case, cannabis sativa seed oil fit into this, new wave of formulations?
I think it fits in beautifully because, first of all, our approach to almost every formulation is always going to be clean, natural, and plant-derived alternative. I've been really looking and investigating into plant-based silicone alternatives. We've really looked into preservative alternatives, etc. Everything coming from a natural standpoint. What CBD does as well is that because it has such a high profile, and because people already identify it with either a natural or a clean product, it kind of, in many ways, it has kind of brought up the whole perception of what a clean, natural formulation can do. Like I remember back, 10 years ago, if you said that you were, the formula was clean and natural, it was, little more than a juice and water and a couple of technology and the ingredients that we have access to today. so far beyond where they used to be. And I think that with a product like CBD, and the like I said, the perception that it has in the industry, it's just a natural pairing for bringing clean, natural formulas, but that have the efficacy and strength and work as well as traditional formulas.
Right. And Melissa, obviously in this space, you're kind of, this unique case where you're not kind of jumping into this CBD trend, but rather have focused solely on cannabis sativa seed oil. And I know this is, the most common question that you get asked, and that I've asked you this before, but I think it would be great for our audience just to understand your decision-making behind that in your creation of High Beauty and the 5-step program.
I get this question often. Go back to what being true to who I am, and I'm a skincare chemist. And my goal is that I have result-oriented daily essentials that you can use. And hemp seed oil to me is one of the most important ingredients I can work with, just from fatty acids, amino acid content, nutrient content. But we're not just hemp seed oil. I've actually, the scientist in me, the crazy person in me is gone, and it's like, okay, what bioflavonoid, similar to the entourage effect, what bioflavonoids and terpenes can I mix with hemp seed oil that are really skin oriented? So we work with 5 bioflavonoids, broccoli, cumin, pomegranate, red grape, and cranberry. And then the terpenes I work with are actually from key essential oils. I work with bergamot, petitgrain, and melissa. And so I call that the special sauce that really gives us that nutrient load that I'm looking for. And I've said this to you before, Katie. I think the skin is like a water balloon, and when it pops off the basal layer, you're in constant, what you're trying to do is keep that cell healthy and pretty and beautiful until it falls off your face. So these are ingredients to me that I feel are important for daily essentials. Now, we're going to be working with minor cannabinoids. We're actually working with CBG and CBC, but they're actually very focused in for blemish-prone skin, where we're doing clinicals. CBC is in my high potency line, where you're dealing with mature skin receptors. So the chemist in me again is going, no, I want these ingredients for very specific results.
Amazing. And Stephanie, with your line, Wash with Water, it's so interesting that it's kind of this hybrid that you incorporate CBD in addition to a lot of other clean, natural, beautiful ingredients. But you also have, an alternate set of products safe enough for babies. And then, of course, the companion products for, moms to use as they, are caring for their babies. So tell us a little bit about how you developed each of those sets of ingredients and products.
Wash with Water started with my first experience as a mother, so it's truly a love note to my children, as well as all of the families that are now part of our global community. And so each ingredient is very deliberate that we add into our products, but it was also all about shrinking down the beauty regimen. When I became a mother, there really wasn't enough time to be worrying about if I had to have one product for my cuticles versus one product for my feet. It was like they all had to work and multitask as well as I did. So each ingredient that we utilize has to be truly highly functional and play really well with each other and have to have synergy. So we love Moroccan argan oil and calendula for what those ingredients brought to our profile. And it wasn't until CBD really came to my attention about 5 years ago that I was so excited that we might have a new ingredient to work with. We really, as a brand, never follow any trend. We don't introduce a new product every 6 months. It's a little bit slower to grow in that sense. So this has been an extremely exciting time, not just for us as a brand, but for our consumers, because they have an opportunity to really baby step into the world of CBD. We chose CBD isolate because we do have so many new families, babies in our community, and it was a really great option for us as a brand to introduce the world to cannabis in a way that would be most fitting and enjoyed by our washies.
Great. And Oren, kind of to Stephanie's point, in discovering this new ingredient that she was able to work with, what have you found since starting to work with CBD and other cannabinoids? But where do you see that fitting in, and how does it, work best? And what are those ingredients that it complements best, where you're seeing this kind of symphony of efficacy and benefits to the skin?
So I think that if you would ask me this question 6 months ago, I would have a totally different answer than what I'm going to say right now. Because 6 months ago, we went on a road trip when the whole COVID thing started, and we stopped in a farm in Colorado, a really small farm, biodynamic farming. My son is really into biodynamic and stuff like this. So we stopped at a very small farm. We met a great guy. His name is Lance. He's doing like biodynamic farming. And while on the farm, he showed me like why, for instance, you would grow a specific flower next to the hemp flower. Why would you use like on the land? Why would you use like not only specific flowers, but why would the grass next to it would be like that grass that could help the plant grow? And I think that that's really interesting to find the combinations that are like, and again, like I'm saying it like all the time, but like the farm to jar, right? At the farm, if these flowers grew together, I believe that in the finished good, they can like be, they can combine really nicely, and you will see the effect on your skin, on your body. So this is something that really like we're pushing our clients to find crazy ingredients. I think as a brand owner, you need to be the one that find these like unique ingredients. There are so many ingredients, like there are so many ingredient companies. I think that it's really important to find the right ingredients for your brand and the right ingredients for like the rest of the product that you're using. It all needs to work as like as an orchestra. Everything needs to work together. So I think it's that's where you need to go back when trying to develop a brand.
Exactly. And Fabian, what when you are starting to explore new ingredients, or even testing other more commonly used ingredients and how they work with CBD, but what compels you and your team to kind of take that step further when you are kind of presented with this new ingredient or new pairing idea, and any kind of criteria that you might look for, whether it's your own development process or when you're working with a new brand that taps Formology?
Well, like Oren said, there is a lot coming out in the market all of the time. But one of the things that really drives me, one of the things that I always look for, is a better way to do something that quite often is already done. And so right now, there's a lot of buzz around vitamin C serums and antioxidants. And they've been great sellers for quite some time. But we discovered that when you use either a full spectrum or a broad spectrum CBD with an antioxidant like a vitamin C or a vitamin E, that the effect is almost magnified. And there is some medical research to show that CBD does have that effect on antioxidants, in particular vitamin C and vitamin E. And so that kind of sparked a whole investigative thing for us. Okay, what if we mix it with these type of antioxidants, and then we mix them with these types of products to try to get that effect of balancing the skin or balancing the tone, etc. And if you look at CBD as an ingredient itself, it's almost too good to be true. It's an antioxidant, it's a humectant, it relieves pain. I mean, where do you really start? And that kind of intrigued us. So like, well, why does it do this, and how does it do it? And then we started to think of it more of sometimes as a delivery mechanism than a standalone ingredient. So what if CBD could deliver vitamin C and vitamin E either in a different way or make them work a little better because of the way that it itself communicates with our own endocannabinoid system? That there alone was months worth of investigation and playing around lab. So, I mean, what drives us? I mean, gosh, what doesn't drive us with this thing? I mean, it's just like you start to play with antioxidants, and all of a sudden, well, okay, can we apply that to an anti-aging product? And what if we mix it with squalene and these types of things? And it's just being a gas just to see the way that, you know, one thing leads to another, and that we're able to use it in more and more formulations with such great results. I mean, you know, we're just having such great results with it across the spectrum in so many ways.
Exactly. And it's so exciting because it is, I mean, for a lot of people, you know, who are participating in this conference, it might feel like, you know, it's been forever, but at the same time, you know, the industry is really just in its infancy. Melissa, I'd be curious to get your perspective on what you think, you know, makes for a successful formulation. I know, you know, that is such a big part of what you do and what you have done for 3 decades now, is really diving into these formulas yourself. But what is it about creating these formulas where you're able to land on a finished product?
You know, I feel that it's a loyal following. So, you know, I think back in some of the earliest formulas I worked on, one of them that amazes me when I still see it on shelf is unpetroleum jelly. And it, you know, it's gone through a couple of brand name changes, but it's still on shelf. I think you can even still get it at Target. And that was so early in the 90s when we were playing with, you know, everything unpetroleum. So from a lip balm to, you know, most people use Vaseline baby. I'm talking to you, Stephanie, like you think of Vaseline being for baby bums. So I think it's really a loyal following, and a formula that you see people reordering you, it stays on shelf and it's relevant. So that's what I think is most important.
And Stephanie, what about you?
I 100% agree with that. There's no better compliment than customers waiting for your product to restock, or saying that they're having, you know, adopting their second baby and they can't wait to repurchase and smell that cleanser all over again. But to Oren's point, it's really a brand's responsibility to understand every single step of the process. We sometimes as an industry get very caught up in Instagrammable packaging and the aesthetic of beauty in this industry. But the unsexy part, where did that seed get planted? How was it harvested and sourced? What is the manufacturing practice? And how are we ensuring that this is a sustainable footprint for all that is being impacted? And so I think ultimately, for me as a founder and as a mother, that's the critical piece, that I have a hands-on part in every step of our formula making.
And what I love about both of your brands, both Wash with Water and High, you know, because you are both so, you know, intrinsically involved from, you know, the beginning to end, but you both have a very in-depth resource on your websites that is really focused on consumer education, which is obviously so important with a new ingredient like cannabis. And so tell me a little bit about how each of you approach, you know, education to your consumer base, which is obviously a lot of new consumers, whether they're new to your brands or new to cannabis and CBD as an ingredient that they've, you know, long had a stigma associated with, especially for moms and products that they might think that they're using on their babies.
Stephanie, you went.
Sure. So fortunately for us, this was pre-COVID. So I actually went across the country doing wellness events, really intimate small gatherings, about 15 or so mommies and daddies, and anywhere from a CBD mommy and me massage class to an open forum like this. We did a 6-week pop-up in New York City where moms could come in and talk about, I've been on a, you know, Lexapro for postpartum. Is there an opportunity for me to actually utilize CBD ingestible and get off of this? I mean, it was really, really important questions our consumers were asking. And those could not be answered on a website. I think it's important to have that information available on the website as much as possible. But those of us on the CBD side, from Oren and Fabian who are on the manufacturing and formulation side, to Melissa and I and so many others who are on the brand, the more front-facing part of the CBD story, it's critical we all take responsibility and accountability for that consumer education. We have a long way to go, to Fabian's point, to truly understanding the opportunity ahead of us with CBD. I think we all take great responsibility of that. But those in-person events were, I think, really what gave us our momentum as a brand, especially entering a space that no one else yet had in that family area.
Right.
So, today we do them as Instagram Lives and Facebook Lives, and we look forward to, again, connecting with our washies in person.
Great. And Melissa?
No, similarly, we were pre-COVID, very much similar events, from large-scale events where I feel really being able to talk to not only myself but our team has been key to our point of difference, being able to educate. And we do it in many ways. Like to Stephanie's point, it's not something you can just put information up on the website and have people navigate. We've initiated not only live chats, but we do consultations and IG lives. I'm trying to do IG lives where I focus in. We had like pimples and Pinot one day. I know that sounds funny, but it was like just even talking about specific skincare concerns and how the ingredients within different formulas can benefit for that. I think one of the biggest trainings I ever do is just to educate people on how to read an ingredient deck. I've always wanted to do a brand where the ingredient deck was the front panel and it was like on the shelf and you actually chose your product based on the ingredient listing and not the marketing messaging that we read. And I think that's probably where I get most of my questions that people are asking me is, can we dissect an ingredient listing and how do I understand what I need? What I don't want is important, but also what do I need because I'm having such and such issue. So
right.
I think there's a lot of ways that we do that. I've been educating my whole life in skin, and I still to this day run into people that I've met in Sephora's that are like, you changed my life by getting me on fatty acids or taking B vitamins or, so I love talking to our customers. That's my favorite.
Amazing. And Oren, what is your perspective on the consumer education piece, and how do you advise your clients as you're helping them formulate their brands, and how that might translate to their consumer messaging?
So I think there is like two levels to this question. I think the first level is like for me as a lab owner is the B2B. So for instance, if Melissa comes to us or Stephanie or anybody else, I think there are a few things that before you start a brand is very important for you to understand and know. First of all, make sure you can own your formulations. Your formulation is your IP. Make sure you have a way to own your formulation. I think it's really important. I know that labs don't like to say it, but if you're going there for the long run, it's really important that either you own it or like you have a way to get it. The second thing, I think that I always love the fact when brands are educating, and a lot of the information I can get it sometime with a new brand that is launches. If I see them launch somewhere and I can go and read, and I love the fact. I think it's really important to educate customers, especially there is like so many unique things that every brand is doing. If you educate the customer, you're getting for you will build the trust with the customer. And I think that a new trend that will start that I would love to see us as a community of founders of manufacturers, if we can start a trend of talking more about sustainability, more about the carbon footprint of our packaging, more about the LCA. LCA is the life cycle analysis of the packaging, so it's not just recyclable sign. It's from the moment that you take this cloth, when will it actually be dissolved back in nature? And I think that, a lot of the trends in the industry are coming from the food industry, and then we're taking them to beauty. I think it would be great if we'll take a trend and we'll be the one that pushing it. We're trying to push all our manufacturers to start supplying us the LCA, the life cycle analysis of every packaging we use. It's really hard, it's really expensive, but I think we all can come up as a community. If everybody here will ask their manufacturers and their suppliers for this, I think we can be on to something like really amazing. And then educating customers that recycle is not just like taking the can and throwing it to the recycle bin. We can, and back to your point, Stephanie, that you said that your products are like a note of love for your kids. I want this world to be a note of love for my kid. We're living next to the ocean. We see what's happening over here in terms of ingredient, in terms of packaging. I think, again, all of us as a community can come up and do something, make a change, not only for our brand, but for our kids.
Thank you. And Fabian, to jump on to Oren's trend statement, obviously CBD does fall into that. And I'm curious about, your perspective on CBD as a trend, and if there's any other ingredients that you're seeing now that are kind of going to be that next CBD, whether it's another cannabinoid that you're working with or other complementary ingredients, and what that might look like in the next year or so.
Okay, so I'll answer both of those. The first is that, this is such a unique time, because normally when a new ingredient comes to the market, you get the marketing spiel from the company that's trying to launch said ingredient, you get the spec sheets, etc. So many people found this effect, etc. And then you go out and try to market it. With CBD, it's kind of, the process is backwards. There are literally hundreds of thousands of millions of people saying, oh, this worked for my arthritis, this worked for my skin, etc. And the information is coming to us the other way. And now we're in industry trying to say, okay, what is a right way to work with this product? Because we know that at the early days, it was a bit like the Wild West with crazy claims and all sorts of things. And we know that FDA started sending out letters and what have you. So it's kind of very different to work with this ingredient, because, it's backwards. People are telling us they want to use this product, and we're the ones that have to do it in a way that is the right way from a formulation chemistry standpoint, in an honest way in terms of marketing and claims and making sure that it does what we're saying that it does. So it's just been really interesting when you say education, how to educate the people. It's almost like a misinformation. We're re-educating people, not so much educating them on the product. So it's been really interesting in that regard. I think in terms of what the next CBD is, I mean, I wish that I knew what that would be, really, because this is still only scraping the top of what this can really do. And if I knew that answer, I would probably not tell anybody and invest in it. But what I think is really exciting right now is, like I mentioned before, how we can blend it and making CBD or cannabinoid and other blends specifically targeting key areas, like hyperpigmentations and that kind of thing, and aging and that kind of stuff. So that to me is really interesting, to maybe put it into very active complexes, so to speak, would be really cool. And then the other is, the minor cannabinoids. I think that there's more information coming up with them, and how we can, maybe take a broad spectrum and then add an isolate of CBG or CBC to then bolster what that complex can do specifically for the target formula. To me, that is really exciting, and I think that could be an interesting avenue that we can investigate as a community.
Right. And then for Stephanie and Melissa, we're coming up at about 10 minutes left, but I think what everybody wants to know is basically, both of you have found such success in such a short time with both of your lines, but I'd love for each of you to share how, that kind of success might translate for other brands, and what that, you know, main piece of advice you would give to somebody who's just starting out in launching a new cannabis skincare brand, and then possibly a piece of advice for those that are already in the market and what they might think about doing differently.
Melissa,
All right, great. You know, I think of the most important thing that you can do is be authentic and be real, and you have to have a unique point of difference. You know, I have a passion for skincare. I have a passion for formulating, and you know, even going back to Oren's point of, I've used a lot of ingredients that we find in the food world that carry over and from a farm directly into bottle and made USDA certified organic, and you have to be real. And I think authentic is the most. You can't just create a brand now, go to market and have a beautiful package, and there's got to be that realness behind it. And like to Stephanie's point, Stephanie definitely is that, you know, the same, that presence of mind is to her brand. And, you know, I think of entering the world and starting a new brand and all that it entails. I haven't met too many people passionate about skincare that in the back of their minds are going, I can't wait till I have my brand. And I can think of all the people I talk to in store, whether it's Macy's or Sephora, you name it, and they're always like, I need to make my brand. And just to really understand that you have to have a point of difference, you have to be unique. And honestly, you need to be able to fund it. So it's something that to do it all we want to do, you've got to have that big picture in mind and what all that entails. So hopefully that, you know, that's some key advice.
Definitely. And Stephanie?
You hear the word saturated in this industry, both in the cannabis industry as well as the beauty industry in general, but I'm a big believer that there is always space for a true player that's going to create impact. And I think to Melissa's point of really digging in and creating your ethos as a brand and where you're going to create impact, that purpose-driven talk that we all heard this morning, that's more important than ever. And to Oren's point, we need to ensure that the footprint of any brand coming into this market and those that exist are going to be ones that create a footprint for the next generation. So to really have that perspective of being a heritage, it's legacy right now. I think that's so incredibly important.
Exactly. And then Oren and or Fabian, you know, obviously being kind of this gold standard in the industry for formulation, what can you share with anybody watching that might be interested in working with Formology? You know, I know you do a lot of new product launches, but tell us a little bit about how brands might be able to work with you and what that criteria is that you require.
So I think our approach is a little different probably from other labs. We're in there for the long run. We look at our clients as partners. We understand that sometimes a client needs to start with a smaller quantity. Yeah, it might be like expensive because of MOQs, because of all sorts of things. We love indie brands. We love new brands because they push us to our limits. And we have like a few brands that we're working on right now that I can't even tell you how many versions we did for our formula. And I know from my experience that like with previous labs, they would kick me out the door like in no time. But I'm excited. I'm excited when I see like an email, you know, like this, that just like line by line saying why we need to improve this formula. So if somebody is like really eager to push the limits, to push the boundaries, to come up with crazy ideas of packaging, crazy ideas of formulation, then I think you'll be very happy with us. Especially we have Fabian that he just wakes up in the morning. He's like 2 hours ahead of me. By the time I get up, I get a list of like 10 new ingredients and 10 new ideas for like formulation. So I'll let Fabian.
Yeah, I mean, you know, like both Melissa and Stephanie said, there's still so much room of what we can do in the space, and the creative approach is limitless. But we have to. One of the main approaches that we take is focus. We have to make sure that when we work on any formula or any product, the focus is there, and that it's as laser focused as possible. Is all the rage right now, but if you go to the development or formulation phase, the branding of your etc., with that focus of exactly what this will do, exactly what the brand is, that's half the battle is right there. And then what we then really need to do is to put the pieces together to make it work in the best possible way for that mission, for who you are, for what the brand is, or what the formula is. And so that's one approach that we value very much at Formology. We know we listen to whoever comes to us, and sometimes we have to really prod them to really find out, okay, what are you exactly saying? What do you really want this to do? And then we will go out of our way to make sure that we will find either the novel ingredients to give them that edge, that point of difference that Melissa mentioned, and create the formula. But, you know, that laser-focused approach is, I think, paramount to success in a saturated space. You know, it isn't just about standing out, but it's about standing out the right way.
Absolutely. Well, we have just a few minutes left, so I'd love for Melissa and Stephanie for you to each share with us your product that is in your daily routine from your own lines. I know, Melissa, that might be all 5 of them. Same with you, Stephanie. But if there's the one go-to that you're always using, and then also where we can all find you and your brand.
Sure. I am someone who has anxiety. When we were prototyping this, I tried it at Disney for the first time. So or CBD tincture. So this has been for me, just being able to truly do everything that I want to do and be present. The CBD tincture's a home run. And you can find us at washwithwatercare.com. And we'd love for you to join our community at Wash With Water on Instagram and Facebook as well.
Now, my go-to that I can't live without is my High Expectations facial oil. And I think, you know, fortunately, I go through so much of this that I have a gallon of it with a pump that, you know, we can play with. So it's a must-have. It's all plant oils, bioflavonoids, and some vitamin E, and it's wonderful. But you can find us at highbeauty.com, and definitely follow us at High Skincare on Instagram. So we appreciate it.
Amazing. Well, thank you everybody so much for sharing your expert insight. And it was such a great session, and thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.